What's up guys, Eric here from Techisode TV, and today we're taking a look at the top 10 unknown camera features on the iPhone XS Max. Now obviously some of these features are also going to be available on older iPhones, so definitely check it out on your iPhone to see if you have these features too. Alright, let's get started. So this first feature is pretty simple, but a lot of people do overlook it. Now, most people, after they take a few pictures with friends and they want to check to see if anybody blinked to make sure the picture came out good, then they would just typically just tap that and then scroll through their different pictures. And then if they realize, you know what, we need to take another one, they'd hit the back button, set up, take another picture again. But if you lightly 3D touch, this is like 3D touching halfway down, then you'll get a preview and you can just drag across and see all of your previous photos that you can let go, and it will snap right back into the camera application. So you can quickly check to see if anybody blinked, and if they did, jump right back into the camera application and take a few more photos. Everyone already knows that there is a filter option in the upper right corner. If you tap that, you get a bunch of different filters for your pictures, so you can change the style of the photo. But what a lot of people don't know is that you can also get to this menu by swiping up on your screen, and you can close it by swiping down. Now, this is especially useful on the iPhone XS Max because the phone is so big that it's really hard to get your finger all the way up to the corner to hit that icon. One more thing that I'd say most people don't know about this is that if you 3D touch one of the filters, you can quickly compare it to what it looks like without the filter. This is particularly useful for the filters in the middle, where it's really hard to scroll back to the beginning so you can see what it looks like without the filter, and then scroll back again to whichever filter you were currently looking at. If you've ever needed to scan a QR code, either on a box or maybe on an advertisement you saw at the mall, you've probably 3D touched the camera app and then went ahead and tapped Scan QR Code, picked up your phone, aimed it at your QR code, and then grabbed the QR code off of that. Now that's great, but what a lot of people don't realize is that you don't even need to do that. All you need to do is open up the camera app. So here I am on the lock screen. All I have to do from here is 3D touch the camera icon, then aim the camera at the QR code, and it's going to go ahead and give me that QR code link again right at the top of the screen. When most people want to zoom in on an object when they're taking a picture, they'll do one of either two things. They'll either pinch in to zoom, like this, or they will tap the 2x zoom button and switch to the zoom lens. But if you don't want to just skip to the zoom lens and you want to go somewhere in the middle, and you can only use one hand because maybe you've got kids and you're holding one of your kids and you're trying to get a picture of the other one, now you want to zoom in, there's no way you could even try to do like some kind of a weird claw maneuver. Oh, there we go. So you'd have to do this crazy claw maneuver while trying to hold a kid in one hand who's squirming to take a picture of another kid who's running around. That's just a complete mess. So what you can do instead, and a lot of people don't realize, is that if you touch and hold the 1x or 2x button, you can actually then swipe up and down from there to zoom in and out single-handedly. So this is really good if you have kids or you're often in a position where you can't use your other hand and you do want to zoom in on a picture. This is a really great way to do that. And this obviously also works with videos too. So if I'm in video mode, even if I'm recording, if I swipe up and down on this, I can zoom in and out really easily. If you're taking a panorama photo, by default, you're going to have to pan from left to right. There's no other option. You have to pan in kind of this direction. However, if for some reason you want to start from the right and pan over to the left, all you have to do is tap in the center and it will switch right over. Now, this seems really obvious and really intuitive, but it actually took me a while to figure out how to get that to switch, because if you tap anywhere else, and even if you swipe on this, you can't get that thing to move over. It has to be a tap on it, and then it will switch across to the other side. Most people know that when you're taking a photo and you tap on part of the screen, it's going to focus on that part of the image, and it's also going to adjust the exposure based on that. So it's either going to get lighter or darker based on whatever it is that you tapped on. And even still, people also know that if you tap and then swipe up and down on the screen, you can manually adjust the exposure to whatever you want. But what some people might not know is that if you long press somewhere on the screen, you'll get an auto exposure and autofocus lock. And what this does is it locks your focus based on where you just held your finger down. Now you can move your camera around to different places and the exposure and focus won't change. So this is particularly useful if you're taking a picture of a group of people and there's something really bright behind them, like the sun, and you want the people to be properly exposed. You would long press on the people to get your auto exposure and autofocus lock, and then you could take a bunch of pictures without the exposure changing and making the sky easier to see, but the people really dark. To get out of this autofocus and auto exposure lock mode, all you have to do is just tap somewhere else on the screen to refocus, and then it goes back into autofocus mode once that box disappears. If you aim the iPhone straight down or straight up, you'll get these crosshairs that appear, and if you keep moving them, you'll see that the crosshairs at one point will become a solid yellow color. When this happens, this means that your phone is perfectly level to the ground. Now, this is particularly useful if you're trying to get a product shot for something you're trying to sell. So let's say you're selling something on Facebook or Craigslist or on eBay or something like that, and you're trying to get some good photos. You want to get a picture from above and you want it to be nice and even and level. This is a great way to make sure that it actually comes out level. And when you tip the phone back up, you'll see that the crosshairs completely disappear. If you're one of those people who typically take selfies or record videos instead of take photos with your phone, then this next feature is for you. If you go into your settings and you scroll down to the camera, which is right here, tap that, then tap this preserve settings option, and then turn on camera mode here. Now what this is going to do is it's going to preserve your camera mode settings. So if I go to my camera, right now, by default, every time I open the camera application, it's going to go into photo mode with the rear-facing camera using the 1x zoom lens. Now, if I switch this to the front-facing camera, now that I have this camera mode preserved, every time I open the application, it's going to open back up to whatever I had open last. So in this case, it'll open in selfie mode. Even if I close the application and I close it out of RAM and I come back 3 hours later, it's still going to open back up in this selfie mode because this is the last mode it was in. So this is a really handy feature for people who, like I said, you typically take selfies, or maybe you typically just take a lot of video and you rarely actually take pictures. Then this is a great way to make sure that every time you fire up the camera application, it's always in the mode that you want it to be in. If you use a lot of filters, you can also turn on this creative controls option, which will also preserve your last used filter, light, and depth settings. While we're in the settings, let's go ahead and take a look at another unknown feature that's also in the settings. If you go back one to the main camera settings, at the bottom here you're going to see this Smart HDR option. You can turn this on or off. Now, Smart HDR is just Apple's way of trying to get an even exposure through the entire photo. So for those shots where there's a sun in the background, there's a person in the foreground, it tries to make sure that the person is properly exposed so that you can see all the details of the person, but also make sure that the background where the sun and the clouds and all of that are also properly exposed. And it does that by taking a series of photos at different exposures and then combining them back together. Now, this is basic HDR technology. Companies have been doing this for a very long time, Apple included, but it has the potential to create some pictures that you may not like because of how it combines all the photos together. So what you can do is you can turn on this keep normal photo option, and it will actually keep a copy of both the HDR photo and a regular photo as well. Now, this will take up more space because you are keeping 2 photos every time you take a picture now. So I only really recommend doing this if you have one of the larger storage capacities for the iPhone XS Max, or if you're only going to keep it on for a little bit because you're going to be taking a bunch of pictures outside in bright sunlight. Alternatively, if you decide that you just don't like the HDR photos at all for whatever reason, you can just turn it off. Some of you are probably still wondering how I had the animated head at the beginning of this video, and it's actually really simple. All you have to do is open up the iMessage application, then tap the camera icon in the bottom left corner. This is going to bring you into the camera application, but it's a slightly modified camera application. You'll see that there's this new icon in the bottom left corner. If you tap this, it's going to bring up this special camera mode. Now from here, I can go ahead and tap this Animoji icon and pick any of these Animojis to go ahead and add to my face. So if I tilt the phone up to get my head in the frame, you can see that I now have this kind of lion head, and if I tap this little X button, you can see here that I can take a picture of this, and now it's going to not film anymore, and then if I tap this arrow here, then it's going to send this to this person here. If you wanted to film a video instead of take a picture, that's also pretty easy to do. All you have to do is tap the camera button, swipe over to video before you tap this special menu button, Then you can go ahead and select another Animoji. This time we'll go ahead and be the fox. Get my head back in the frame, and so now you can see I have the fox head, and if I tap this X here, you can see that I have a red button now for recording. But before I record, I want to show you guys a few other things you can do. The first thing here is a filter, and this will add a live filter on top of the video, and this will obviously be live as you record the video as well. I'm going to go ahead and switch this back to original so I can show you guys some other features. The next option here allows you to add text, and there's a few different ways to add the text. As you can see, you even get this little thought bubble that you can add here. So I'm going to go ahead and tap that, long press it, and then drag it to where I want. And then I can go ahead and add whatever I want in for text. So let's go ahead and do hello. And now I can drag that around by long pressing and dragging it to wherever I want. And if I pinch in and out, I can also make it bigger or smaller. So let's go ahead and do this, and I'm going to move it up to here. And that's going to track my head wherever I move it. So that's pretty slick. The other thing you get is a shapes option, and you get a handful of different shapes to pick from as well. Let's go ahead and just add this check mark. So I'm going to long press it, drag it up over here, and you can see I now have that check mark tracking my head as well. And the last thing I have here is a sticker pack that I downloaded. These are smiley stickers. They're kind of animated. So if I pick one of these, I can go ahead and drag that around, and again I can pinch out to make it a little bit bigger. All right, so that's a little bit bigger than it was when it first came in. And again, same deal, you can long press and drag that around as well, and that's also going to track my head. So now when I start recording, you'll see that the check mark, hello, and the smiley face are tracking my head. And if you look close, you can actually see that the smiley face is actually animating, which is pretty slick. Now, obviously, this works with any sticker pack that you download. So if you have other sticker packs that you use, you'll be able to use them with this Animoji video. When you're done recording, just tap stop. And if you tap this blue arrow, that's going to share the video in iMessage. If you weren't satisfied with the video, you could tap retake. And obviously, there's a play button here. So if you tap play, it's going to start playing back the video so you can see it. And if at some point you decide, you know what, I didn't want the fox Animoji, I wanted a different one, that's fine. You just tap a different Animoji, and it will now put that Animoji in the video. So if I start playing this, and the smiley face are tracking my head, it's now using the dog face instead. And the same obviously goes for all of these stickers as well. So if I did the video and I realized, you know what, the sticker's not quite where I wanted it to be, that's fine. I could long press it and drag it around the screen, and again I can pinch in and out to make it bigger or smaller, and I can even rotate it by moving my fingers around like this in a kind of a rotating motion. So I'm going to go ahead and rotate a little bit and just stick it right back up there, and if I think that's better, then great, I can go ahead and send that video instead. Furthermore, if I wanted to add something else, like another sticker of some sort, like this, let's say I wanted to add this red arrow, I could long press and I can add that arrow in here, and that's also going to animate along with the video. So if I tap this X and then I tap this, you see that that red arrow is now in there, and it's tracking with everything else just nicely. Once you're satisfied with the video, as I mentioned earlier, you can tap this arrow to send it to your friend immediately, or you could tap the done button in the corner, and then it's going to start creating the movie. Once it finishes creating the movie, it's going to dump it into iMessage and then give you the option to send some text along with the video. And in case you're wondering, if you 3D touch the send button, you can still send it with all of these different animation options that come in iMessage. And obviously the same also goes for the screen effects. You can use any of those as well. If you just wanted to save the video to your photos gallery so you could share it through like Twitter or Facebook or something other than iMessage, then all you would have had to do was tap the X when it brought it into your iMessage, and it would have saved it automatically in your photo gallery. And even if you didn't hit the X and just sent the video along, it would still save a copy of the video in your photo gallery. I also want to quickly point out that you can also film in landscape as well if you don't want to take a portrait video, and you'll still be able to get all of the same tracking features as you do when you're filming in portrait mode. So there you have it, guys, the top 10 unknown camera features for the iPhone XS Max. Definitely drop a line in the comments down below letting me know how many of these were new to you. And as always, don't forget to like the video if you liked it, share it if you loved it, and subscribe to see the rest of my upcoming coverage. And while you're at it, smack that notification bell so you can be the first to know when a new video drops. That's it for this Techisode. God bless, guys, and I'll catch you in the next one.